Now let's have a look at the iBooks Author user interface. If you've ever used Keynote or Pages, you're going to feel right at home inside of iBooks Author. It follows a lot of the same general workflows and principles that both of those applications do. On the left-hand side, you have a sidebar that has an outline of your entire book. Here you can click on individual pages such as your book title, the intro media, the table of contents, the glossary, and all of the individual pages of your book. We already saw in the last movie where we can change the default view of our book to fit within a page. We can also navigate between pages using the arrows at the bottom to navigate forward and back within the pages of a particular chapter. And we saw where we can use the gear icon to preview all of the individual paragraph styles and chapter styles. At the top of your window, you'll find the main toolbar. Here, you're able to add individual chapters, sections, or pages to your book. Next, you can control the overall view. The default view is for page thumbnails to be displayed in the sidebar. You can also choose to view your book as an outline. I like being able to get a preview of my different pages, so I'll leave my view set to page thumbnails. Next, you can choose a variety of additional tools to be able to show while you're working in iBooks Author. I really like having the Show Layout Boundaries tool turned on. This way, every single one of my objects on screen, be it text, images, or any other object that I add, there's bounding boxes that show me where the edges of that object are located, and that way I can control my layouts a little bit better. The next tool here on the toolbar controls the orientation view. By default, many users are probably going to be looking at your book in landscape view. However, since the iPad supports rotation, it's possible for your users to turn their iPad vertical and have a portrait view of your book. You can change the views by simply clicking on the orientation link. You'll notice that when you do, that the overall view of your book completely changes. As we're going through building our documents within iBooks Author, we're going to want to make sure that we're constantly checking the various different orientations to make sure that our book looks the way that we think it's going to look in each different view. Next, we have a series of controls here at the top to add various types of objects to our page. We see the common tools that we've seen in applications such as Keynote, such as the text box, shapes, tables, and charts. A new one that you may not be familiar with is called widgets. Widgets allow our users to be able to interact with media on our pages. The next section of the toolbar allows us to preview our books directly on our iPad. We'll cover that in a later movie, and we'll be able to later publish our book directly to the iBook store. On the far right-hand side of our toolbar, we have some additional tools that we're going to be using a lot throughout the training. The first is the inspector. The inspector allows us to find all of the specific properties about any particular object that we have selected on screen. Since we're going to be using the inspector so often, you may want to remember the keyboard command, which is Command-Option-I. By pressing this keyboard command, you can turn the inspector on or off. The next inspector is the media inspector. Here, we can access photos from inside of our iPhoto library. We can access movies that have been placed inside of our user account's movies folder. And we can also access audio that's been placed inside of our iTunes library. We're going to go ahead and leave the media window selected to photos. Next is the colors palette. Here, we have a standard color picker, or we can choose our colors in a variety of different formats that are standard on the macOS operating system. I like leaving the Colors tool set to the Colors wheel. Next, we have the Fonts window where we can select and control all of the various different parameters about a particular font that we have displayed on screen. You can hide any of these windows by simply clicking the Close button, or by toggling the window on or off by clicking on the selector up in the toolbar. One last interface element, and that's the formatting bar. The formatting bar allows us to control additional elements when we have them selected down in our document, so we don't have to pop up one of the heads-up display to access a variety of the different parameters. Now that we have a good overview of the user interface for iBooks Author, let's go ahead and get started building our document, and we'll start by building the title page.